Welcome to Forensic Friday,
where we examine the intersection of true crime, psychology, and the heart of being human in the middle of it all.
So I was laughing to myself the other day. This is what I do when I drive. I think of really stupid things and then I laugh out loud, and I probably look like a psycho.
Oh, I love everything about this.
But so have you, oh my God, I'm going to start laughing. Have you heard of the Montana Boys?
Of course I have.
Okay.
Isn't he dating, Kristen Cavallari or whatever?
Yes, one of them is dating Kristen Cavallari. But I was sitting there and I love her. I love Uncommon James jewelry, all that.
For sure. Yeah.
And she's just so hilarious to me. So I'm sitting there just thinking about, okay, let me back up. So I was listening to Morgan Wallen, and then I thought of the Montana Boys because I was like, all they do is film themselves taking turns singing Morgan Wallen songs. And I'm like,
with backward hats and stuff. That's literally it.
Literally. So I was sitting there and I was like, I wonder what they were thinking. And this is my rendition of what they were thinking.
Okay.
They were probably like, we're all pretty hot.
Right.
Let's just film ourselves lip singing Morgan Wallen 100 times.
Yeah.
And just see how it goes.
See what happens. And he got himself a Kristen Cavallari.
And they all went to some country award thing. I don't even know what they went to, but I just saw them on some red carpet. And I was like, how?
If we were to try this, which I think we totally should.
I don't know, man.
What artist should we sing? Lip sync, because clearly neither one of us are going to be singing it.
Right. Eminem. I'm just kidding.
I know some Eminem.
I do too. Here's the thing. I cannot rap to save my life. Even if I have studied the lyrics and everything, I cannot rap. Preston and my sister-in-law Arliss can both rap Eminem, and they do rap battles together.
That's incredible. Also, you know what? Your girl can rap.
I have never heard you rap.
Yeah, that's because I don't do it in front of people.
Well, you should.
But can I rap? Absolutely.
Trick. That is a legitimate party trick.
It's a great party trick. I may or may not have done it in college a bit at Tulagis, but outside of that, this is just my own personal car concert time. That's when I rap.
We couldn't do Eminem because I can't talk fast like that.
I can do some of his stuff, but he is so fast. And you know how fast I talk.
Yeah.
The podcast is me at half speed because I've been advised that I need to slow it down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't keep up with Eminem. I don't know many people who can.
No. Yeah. No, there's no way.
My favorite thing about Eminem, though, is when he just obliterates a rival.
Yes.
So, when Machine Gun Kelly called
best battle
ever.
Best battle ever.
I loved everything about it. Also, who is it that 50 Cent just got after somebody? Who was it? And he did this la-di-da. I think it was loosely associated with some of the Diddy stuff. I'll find it because we're going to do Diddy soon.
Yeah, we're going to do a whole thing on Diddy because that's a whole vibe.
He's just a hot garbage mess, that guy.
He's such a mess. Every time I open my phone and go to Instagram or the news, there's something new about Diddy.
Can I tell you something wild about me being a kid and Diddy?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So I'm going to anyway. So Tupac, right? Okay, gets murdered. There were definitely some musings at the time that maybe Diddy had something to do with that, and Biggie, right?
Oh, shoot.
Okay, so I was really mad about that. However, I also love Biggie Smalls.
Okay.
Love. Have you ever heard the song, I Like It When You Call Me Big Papa? You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. So anyway, love Biggie Smalls. So when Biggie was then killed, which they think was, revenge for Tupac being killed, whatever, who knows? It was the 90s. It was a wild time.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, the moms came out. Biggie and Tupac's moms came out and they were like, stop the violence, blah, blah, blah. But
Mm-hmm.
Diddy came out and did this whole, every breath you take, every move you make, I'll be missing you,
Uh-huh.
that song.
Uh-huh.
He came out and did that, and I was like, what a douche. Like I can't with Diddy because he's a part of all this madness.
Uh-huh.
And then to come out and act like some kind of harbinger of peace, like it just irritates the shit out of me, Natalie. Like I just can't. It makes me so mad because I was very attached to Tupac and Biggie. More Biggie than Tupac because I was kind of little when Tupac died, but I still
Yeah.
just loved him.
I love that. That's funny.
I know. So I have disliked Diddy pretty much my whole life.
Since day one.
Yeah. You know?
Really? Since you could really know who he was.
Yeah, I'm learning that I hold grudges in this process. This is what I'm learning myself.
Probably against the people who really deserve it.
That's true.
To some degree.
At least in my own mind, but isn't that how everyone feels about their grudges?
Exactly.
Mm,
Exactly. Well, if you guys couldn't guess, we are talking about Eminem today.
Eminem.
I'm going to be super honest. So, in a lot of our cases that we've already covered, it's been at times challenging to have empathy for some of the people we've talked about. Eminem, I love him. I still love him. I've
I
learned a lot
know.
about him, and I love him even more now. And I just think he's had quite the life, to be
Mm.
honest.
He has
Um,
said worse stuff than anybody we've covered.
he oh
He hasn't done worse stuff, but he has said
he,
terrible
oh
things.
like killing people.
I don't think his album, I was just reading before we
Mhm.
hopped on, I don't think they would do his album, the Marshall Mathers album. I don't think they would release it now.
Oh yeah, no, there's no way. Well, I can't remember. It was probably like close to 2020, but they were trying to cancel him because
Hmm.
of all of the songs about abuse and
Oh yeah. You
everything.
can't cancel Eminem. He's a cultural icon.
Literally.
He's not going anywhere.
Well, no. Yeah, it's just I loved him back then. I love him now.
Oh, the Super Bowl, his moment. Well,
Oh,
that was the best Super Bowl performance of all time.
90s kids dream.
Oh, it was, I mean, I was like tearing up. I was so
I
excited.
know.
And then when Snoop Dogg did the Crip Walk, I mean, it was just like
It's
everything
all
I wanted. Everything I never knew I always wanted all at one point.
Crip walk. That was so, oh my
They
gosh.
told him, don't wear blue and don't Crip Walk. And he wore a literal blue bandana. That was his whole outfit. And then he did a Crip Walk on national television, which is outstanding.
He's a lot, but I like him too.
Well, I'm obsessed with him. Snoop Dogg is like, I love him so much. But Eminem, his performance was so epic. And I'm
Yes,
like, he lives on. Like we will always love him.
he's an icon. He's a rap icon. He's a music icon. He's just everything.
And don't you think you have to look at somebody's body of work? Like when you talk about some of these people who just make us mad because they
Yeah.
never change.
Yeah.
That is not Eminem. Like Eminem actually has grown and changed. And so he's
Yeah.
kind of a fun one to talk about because most people evolve over time and he's no exception.
He has come a long way, and we're going to cover some of that. Today, we're going to cover a ton of his history. We might end up doing a part 2 on him. Who
Yeah.
knows on just how he is now. Maybe it'll be like a small midweek one because he's just a new human. Some of my favorite things by him are obviously a lot of his old stuff that I grew up on, but the Machine Gun Kelly, the dig on Mariah Carey, that whole battle between him and Mariah Carey is
That was
hilarious.
great too. Oh, so funny.
Her music video when she's mimicking him,
Oh,
have you seen it?
yes.
It's so funny. Maybe I saw it at your house.
You probably did. Anybody who wants to take Eminem on,
Godspeed.
just pre-book therapy because he's going to ruin you. You're going to hate yourself a little bit because he's not going to be wrong and he is not going to stop.
It's so bad.
So
It's so
just
bad.
buckle up. You'll work through it, but if you
Yeah.
have the audacity to take him on,
Good luck.
good
Godspeed
luck.
to you, my friend.
I would never,
Never. Never.
never. Mm-mm.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So I'm going to start before he was born. Because
Okay.
that's how far back this man's trauma goes, is before he was born.
Oh my gosh.
So he was born in October of 1972. Also, sorry, y'all. You guys are going to be like, Natalie, you're an idiot.
Well, they will not because I'm gonna be mad at them.
It's just hard to imagine that Eminem's in his 50s.
Oh God, that's because I'm in my 40s.
Isn't that crazy?
No, that's crazy.
I know.
He's perpetually like 22 in my brain. He will always be 22,
He still looks in his 20s or 30s.
which is kind of incredible given the hard living he's done.
I know. Well, he got sober a long time ago, which is good.
Yeah, that is good. That helps.
Yeah. Sobriety does help. Helps the skin, y'all. Anyway.
Good for the complexion.
Yes. And maybe your organs, but
You know, who needs a liver as long as your face looks good?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so he was born in 1972 to his mother, Deborah, and his father, Marshall Bruce Mathers II.
Oh, he was named after his father? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, so he is Marshall Bruce Mathers III.
Oh, there's three of them.
There's three. We're going to go back before that, though, before he was born. Eminem's grandmother, okay? I should have
Mom's
done
mom.
mom's. Yes. So this is all maternal side.
All maternal side. Okay.
Everything I'm going to talk about is maternal.
Okay.
Okay. So Eminem's grandmother was left by her father. So his great grandmother's husband left. And then his grandmother was basically left at her grandmother's house. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So his grandmother was raised primarily by her grandmother, but then her mother came back into the picture and was wildly abusive. I'm pretty sure this documentary I watched, do you know who Ice-T is?
Do I know who he is? Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he does the documentary. He's the voice. Anyway.
Wait, Ice Cube?
No, Ice-T, the actor in Law and Order. Anyway.
Got it.
Okay. Eminem's grandmother was raised primarily by her grandmother, but then her mother came back in the picture and was wildly abusive. And in this documentary, the grandmother talks about how when her mother was on her deathbed, literally, the mother was like, "Can you forgive me for everything I've done?" And his grandmother, so that daughter at the time, was like, "No, you're basically gonna rot in hell."
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So no forgiveness.
So he comes from traumatized, angry genes.
Yes. Yes, exactly. So then his grandmother marries a man and has 5 children, the oldest being Deborah or Debbie, Eminem's mother. And after they have their children, his grandfather leaves.
Oh, goodness.
Yes.
So this woman who was basically raised by her grandmother and hated her mother, is now raising 5 children alone because.
Well, not necessarily alone, but yes. So she's a single mom, but she has like many, many, many partners throughout the years.
Okay. So there were boyfriends.
There were boyfriends. I think some husbands sprinkled in there, to be honest. Okay. I didn't go into depths on grandmother because it was just chaotic. So anyway, we can just know that grandmother's relationship status was constantly chaotic. Also, grandmother met her husband, the one she had the 5 kids with, when she was 14 and started having children as a teenager.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that's important. And you'll know why here in a little bit.
Okay.
So then Deborah was born, and then their uncle, who was also in this documentary, Todd, I believe was the second born. So when Deborah was born, the mother literally, so Eminem's grandma, literally says I was so embarrassed. She was so tiny. She was like embarrassed to have her around because Deborah was so tiny.
Did she not get the memo that babies are small?
Well, but she was also a teenager. She was like 15 or 16 or something when she had her. So she said she was so tiny. I was embarrassed. I was so young and had a hard labor, and she was about 4 pounds.
What would she have done with you?
I was 2 pounds.
I know.
My brother was 4. She would
I
have been
know.
like, both my babies make up one baby.
That's just wild to me
Yeah.
that
Yes.
a teenager would be put off by their kid because they're too tiny of a baby.
I know. And not like thankful that they're freaking alive. Anyway.
Well, yeah.
So they had 5 children. Those were the 2 main ones that I really focused in on just because they played a bigger role in Eminem's life.
Okay.
So the family was close but fought a lot.
And
Um,
Eminem's mom was the oldest child,
yes.
which we know has an impact even in utero.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm tracking with you.
Okay. I know it's a lot. There's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Then the second one was born, and I believe that was Todd, Uncle Todd. And when Todd was born, Debbie was at first really excited to have a little brother, but then quickly realized she'd be sharing mom's attention
Mm.
and literally tried to kill him.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So the grandmother walked in. So Eminem's grandmother walked in on Debbie holding a wrench over the baby's head, about to hit him.
Okay, so those are some strong genes.
I know.
Those are some really strong genes. Also, mom was giving her so little attention to begin with. And little
Yes.
Debbie was like,
I got this.
I got this.
And then there was 3 more later. Anyway, they didn't say much about their littlest siblings. I mainly knew that because of a picture.
I'm gonna guess Debbie wasn't pleased.
Probably not. Well, so then as they got older, so Debbie as a teenager, so dad left or grandpa, whatever, however you want to look at it. Eminem's grandpa left. Grandma invited all these men into the house. And sadly, Debbie was sexually assaulted by one of them when she was 12.
Oh no.
They didn't go into detail of when I was looking at this, but they said that he was arrested before he could like really do too much more to her. But then Debbie's mother was super upset with her and basically said she didn't believe her that that had happened and that she better hope she can get him out of jail.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Then Debbie met who is known as Eminem's father, Marshall Bruce Mathers II, and he was quiet and a band player. So they met as teenagers.
Hmm.
They got married in 1970 and had Eminem in 72.
Okay.
They moved to North Dakota.
So were they in Detroit to start with?
They were in like Missouri.
Okay. So they started in Missouri, moved to North Dakota?
Yes. Yes.
One of the Dakotas.
One of the Dakotas. And they lived in Marshall Mathers II's like his parents' home.
Okay.
And he worked for his dad. Okay. So
Okay.
she has their baby and he becomes very abusive to Debbie.
Okay.
And then when Eminem is about 1, she leaves and gets on a train and goes back to Missouri.
Okay.
So technically she left, but she had to because he was like beating the crap out of her.
So probably I'm assuming when she was pregnant and when she had him and had him as a newborn at the house, he was not doing well. And we know that's the riskiest time for a victim anyway, is when they're pregnant and when they have a new baby.
Yes.
So it got so bad that she left.
Yes.
Oh man.
So bad that she left. And then he just dropped them. Like Eminem, I do not think he knows his dad at all. So dad was literally non-existent when Eminem was growing up. He would even try to reach out to him. Like as Eminem got older, he would try to reach out to him. Debbie tried to reach out to him and there was just nothing. There was no contact. He just totally bounced from their lives.
Yeah.
And I think what really stuck out to me about Debbie was she, you could tell obviously like she came from like a rough situation, a really rough family life, but she really wanted to do better. Like
Mm.
she said, you know, I wanted him to have everything. I didn't want him to want for anything. She
Mm.
really wanted to do better. And then sadly, she ends up in this super abusive relationship and then ends up being a single mom.
Mm.
Really hard. I have empathy for her too. She pulls some shady stuff later, but I do have empathy for her.
Yeah, well, it sounds like a really tough way to start.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And she had a screw loose because she almost killed her brother, like right away.
Literally, right when he was born.
So that,
Yeah. One of the interesting things that Eminem's uncle Todd said was so Todd is the second brother, the one that I think Debbie tried to kill when he was born. So he said when he met Marshall Bruce Mathers II, so Eminem's father, he said he was a literal knife thrower. So he would throw knives and try to see how close he could get it to someone's foot.
cool. Like for fun or like to freak people
Yes,
out?
for fun.
Wow.
Yes.
That is some Missouri stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So just an interesting dude. And it kind of shows too some of how, like, you know, when you don't know that there's better, you go
Mhm.
for what you know.
For sure. That's what you're comfortable with.
Yes, exactly. And I'm being more mindful about how I say things sometimes, but it goes with that thought of like level of health is going to go with level of health,
Yeah.
right? Like if I'm not raised in a really great situation, all I know is abuse and addiction. I
Hmm.
might have every intention of doing better and even trying to pick better. And that was the other thing is I think Debbie thought she was picking someone who was different because he was quieter. He was
Right.
quieter. He was a little bit more to himself. And it sounds like, you know, obviously there were probably red flags before that, but I think yours and my radar for red flags would probably be different than Debbie's at that time.
Well, and also it's interesting how, and I've had this happen even to friends of mine who
Mhm.
are educated in all of these things.
Yes.
Sometimes you see someone's behavior, and because they haven't turned it on you yet,
Oh, yeah.
then
Yep.
it looks like protection or it looks
Yep.
like assertive communication or whatever.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it
You're
doesn't
not
get
wrong.
turned on you right away.
Yep. Yep. That's true. But that's what I'm saying though, is like you and I would see that and we'd be like, oh, that's not good.
The knife throwing alone. Are you kidding me?
I know.
I'd be out. I'm
Like
sorry. Are you
bye
a
bye.
circus performer or my boyfriend? Like, I'm not doing this. Absolutely not.
The fact that you were that good at throwing knives, no, thank you.
Nope.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it's sad because I think she was really trying to break some of these patterns and she didn't. So then after they left his dad, they moved super often. So between Missouri and Detroit, they were back and forth about 20-ish times.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Which doesn't create a lot of stability for him as a
No.
child. And Debbie and her mom had a really chaotic relationship as well, which matters because her mother, so Debbie's mother, Eminem's grandmother, had a baby
Hmm.
2 months before Eminem was born. So he has an uncle that is 2 months older than him.
Oh, interesting.
But think about it. She had Debbie at like 15.
Right, right, right.
She probably had her last son, and his name was Ronnie, which you
Mm.
might recognize that name.
Yeah.
She had Ronnie probably when she was like in her 20s or maybe early 30s.
So how old was Eminem? How old was Debbie when she had Eminem?
Debbie had Eminem when she was 18.
Oh, okay. So older than her mom, at least.
Yes, but I
But
wonder.
18 still young.
So she was 18, and then her mom is probably about 15 years older than her.
Right. So her mom
So,
was 33 when she had Eminem's uncle.
yes.
That's wild.
Yeah. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, I haven't even had my first child, and I'm 35.
Yeah. I mean, that would be wild to be a grandmother and a mom at the same time
Yes.
would be
Yeah.
a lot. Like a mom again and a grand. It's like Father the Bride too,
I haven't seen it.
kind of. I mean, but a little different.
Right. So she was in her early 30s when she had her last son. And at that point, like you said, she was a grandma and now a new mom again,
Wow.
which is wild to me.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah. They move back and forth. They finally land in Michigan, I do believe, when Eminem was later in, like, when he was like 9.
Okay.
But what's sad is he was really close to his uncle, if you will. They called him like more like brothers, Ronnie and Eminem. So they
Oh.
really close. And their uncle Todd would said, you know, they like almost looked alike, they talked alike. They were just really good friends. But it was sad because his mom and grandmother, their relationship was so bad that they couldn't really see each other as often as they wanted to.
So Eminem and Ronnie were kind of in and out of each other's lives as that she bounced around.
Yep. And then once they had more control of how to connect with each other, they did a lot more.
Yeah, when they were older
Um,
ones.
yep. But yeah, as kids, it's like, you know, basically getting ripped away from your brother,
Mm,
you know?
that's awful.
I know.
Now, when they ended up in Michigan, did
Hmm.
they end up in Detroit? Like, is that really where they kind of settled down?
Yes, in that area. Low income.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. 8 Mile, the
8
song
Mile.
and the movie. Up to now, Uncle Todd, who I've mentioned a few times, has really been the main male figure in Eminem's life.
Hmm.
He would take him fishing, all that stuff.
So they had a good relationship.
Yes. One thing I did not mention, oh my goodness, I can't believe I missed this, you guys. When Eminem was really little,
Yeah.
he was very to himself,
Hmm.
right? Very to himself, kind of a, you know, just a mama's boy, did not want to like branch out, very quiet.
Hmm.
He would, when he would listen to music, he
Yeah.
would rock back and forth. Like they said, he would like basically just bounce the whole time and just like hit the back of the seat of the car, wherever he was sitting, he would just rock back and forth.
Interesting. Like to the rhythm almost?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
But like that was it. Like, I mean, anyway, I have my theories on that. And then also, he was a wildly, as a child, like elementary school, wildly good drawer.
That makes sense. He was kind of an artist.
Very, yes. But like, Janine, I'm not talking like
Hmm.
what I can draw now. I can't draw worth crap.
Right.
It's like, I mean, it's unreal.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'll find some stuff and we can post it. But yeah, so he was a super good drawer and he just automatically took to music really, really quickly. And he was super obsessed with superheroes, which makes sense
Oh,
because
that makes so much sense.
he didn't have any superheroes in his life,
Mm,
right? He didn't have any good male role models besides Uncle Todd
yeah.
who really showed him anything. And so he really took to that. But that's what he would draw a lot of were superheroes.
Oh, Eminem. Just when I couldn't love you more, buddy.
Oh man, I'm telling you, all these things I learned, I was like, "Ah, one, he's an art. Obviously, he's an artist. He's a musical artist, but I did not know he could draw at the age of like 2.
That
I'm being
tracks,
dramatic,
though.
but it basically, yeah, how obsessed he was with superheroes as a kid. Just really sweet.
Precious.
I know. So crazy. Also, in that when he would do his rocking, teachers told Debbie that he was the R word.
Oh.
Like they were like, "Oh, he's, you know, this, the R word, and you need to get him on." He was like taking Ritalin as a child.
So they saw this as like a disorder, an issue,
Yeah.
when really, who knows what was going on in his brain? He might have been
Yes.
composing things in his brain.
Yes.
Now we know what he is as an artist and a producer and everything else. He
Yeah.
probably was just
Yeah.
immersed in the music.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Honestly, like savant status, in
Oh,
my
yeah.
opinion.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, as a child, just like a savant.
Well, I think that it's interesting because grown-ups are just dumb. I think in so many ways. Like,
Could not agree more.
you know what I mean? I'm sitting here going,
Yes.
we pathologize everything. We don't take accountability. Like, grown-ups suck. Little kids are amazing.
I know. He was a really gifted kid, but it was viewed as very different.
Oh my gosh. Little spider.
So I just sent Janine a picture of one of Eminem's drawing as a kid. What do you
Oh
think
my
of it,
gosh,
Janine?
it's so amazing.
I
I mean,
know.
it's like professional level amazing.
That's what I was trying to say. I needed to send you the picture so you knew.
But also just my little heart, just thinking about little Eminem needing a superhero.
I know. Isn't that so sweet?
It's very sweet.
So yeah, just wicked talented, like super talented. Yeah. And adults are dumb. Anyway.
Adults are just the worst.
They are. Like, don't judge a child. Anyway, we'll
So
move
did
on.
his mom, so as he's like trying to connect with his uncle, he's
Hmm.
seeing Ronnie, he's back and forth. They end
Hmm.
up in Michigan. Was his mom, did she continue to be with abusive people?
Yeah, there wasn't a lot on her and relationships,
Okay.
to be honest. And even as I reflect on like Eminem's music, I don't hear a lot about abusive
Mm-mm.
men in his life. Just his father being a deadbeat and then how much he resented his mom for so long.
Mm.
You
Yep.
know what I mean? When it comes to parental figures, I didn't hear a lot about um, other men in his life.
But was his mom abusive to him?
She was, yes, yes, but it wasn't as much like physical abuse as I think people thought.
Okay.
I could be wrong about that, but that wasn't what really like was discussed or talked about. It was a lot of it was kind of more from what I gathered,
Mm.
neglect, emotional neglect. She was gone a lot. So when they finally landed in a place, she
Mm.
would have to work two jobs to try to stay afloat.
So he was alone a lot.
He was alone a ton.
Because does he have any siblings?
No, but just hang in there.
Okay.
Okay, so no, he does not have any biological siblings. Ronnie was like the closest thing to a brother.
Okay. So when mom's working, Eminem's at home in Detroit, drawing his superheroes.
Drawing his superheroes, listening to music, all the things.
Okay.
So he found his expression in music. And a big thing is that he would retreat from his surroundings. So he would rather like be alone. He did not love being around a bunch of people.
Mm, that makes sense.
Yeah, right? I
Hmm.
literally wrote that in my notes. It makes sense.
Yeah.
When he was 9, so in elementary school, he was bullied really, really badly by another student. They say his name in this documentary. I'm not going to say it now. I feel like he doesn't need any more, I don't know, clout than he already had from this.
Mm.
So at one point, this kid who bullied him for quite a while, pretty badly, cornered I'm sorry, cornered Eminem in the bathroom and knocked him out with like some heavy object. Knocked him out cold.
Poor guy.
No one, Janine, you're going to have a
Mm.
heart attack in this next second.
Oh no.
No one reported him missing for hours.
He was knocked out in the bathroom and nobody reported that he was missing.
Correct. So I
What the
think
hell kind
from,
of school was he at?
dude, I don't know. Wild. So I'm pretty sure based on what it sounded like, his mom found him. So it must have been like after school where she's like, where the actual F is my son?
And they just
And they
then
found him in
checked the
the
bathroom?
freaking bathroom and he's on the floor bleeding from his head and having a seizing.
Well, that answers my traumatic brain injury question for later.
Absolutely. Yes, he did have a traumatic brain injury from this incident.
Oh gosh, that's awful, Nat.
I know. I
And
know.
this
It's
kid
like,
just knocked him out and then went back to class and just left him.
yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Like dang near killed him. This incident had him in a coma for 10 days. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know any of this.
Yeah. Once he woke up, he had to relearn all of his basic motor functions. Yeah, like talk about traumatic brain injury from getting knocked in the head by a elementary school student.
Well, and he probably had to relearn how to draw, how to do, because I mean, that's like the finest
Mm-hmm.
motor skill, one of the
Mm-hmm.
finest ones we have.
Yeah. So he had to learn all that, suffered from headaches, loss of vision and hearing, had nightmares, nausea, all of the things for a long time. So one thing that Debbie talks about in this documentary that I watched is how she had to quit her jobs to like take care of him. And there was like hundreds of thousands of dollars in medical bills.
Mm,
So just a lot of stress on the
so
family.
much. Yeah.
So we're going to fast forward to when he was a teenager. So when he was a teen, they were in Detroit. His mother took in this girl named Kim.
And how did she meet this girl?
It doesn't say it in here, but, and if you know, then tell me. So she meets Kim Scott. So the mom used to work for the state of Michigan and worked in the area where kids would get dropped off at the welfare department. So she would like run these groups for kids, and Eminem would go with her. And then she would like ask kids, you know, like ask them questions about their life, whatever. And
Mhm.
he would get so upset and run off and say, "You love them more."
Well, okay. And
Uh huh.
I would feel the exact same way. You leave me
Right?
at home and you go run these groups for other people, which feels a little narcissistic. I'm not going to lie. Like it feels good to run these groups with these kids
Yes.
while my kid's at home raising himself.
Well, she would bring him with her to this job,
How magnanimous.
right? I know. But in reality, years before that, she's leaving him at home.
So he felt bad because she's being empathetic and super invested probably with these kids and
Yes.
not with him.
Yes.
Oh
Yes.
no.
I know. It runs so deep, Janine.
I know.
Okay. Yeah. So I think she might have met her at one of those things because she meets this girl. Kim's stepdad did not want her. And so Debbie took Kim in.
Wow. So Kim's mom was okay with letting her daughter go because the stepdad didn't want her.
Yep. And
Oh my God.
I know. Kim was 13 years old at the time.
And how old was Eminem? Kim was 13.
I think he was around that same age. They're about
Okay.
the same age.
They
Yeah.
were pretty close in age.
Oh, Janine, it gets so much worse. Okay.
Oh no.
So Debbie took Kim in and considered her a daughter, literally. So at one point, Debbie's mother, so Eminem's grandmother, was like, "What are you doing with this girl?" And Kim was like, or Debbie said, "You know, don't say anything to her, but I took her in like I have a daughter now." And Debbie says, "I always wanted a daughter." So she spoils the heck out of this girl.
Oh no. Oh no.
Yes. Yes. So
Is
she
there a what not to do manual laying around that we didn't know was published?
clearly not.
I mean, I feel like this is so terrible that she almost had a how to.
Yeah. You'd think she should write one.
She should what not to do.
What,
By
what?
Debbie. Don't bring in a random girl and spoil her right in front of your son. That's not a great idea.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I know. Insane. So she brings Kim in, spoils her, and Eminem and Kim would fight like brother and sister.
Oh, for sure.
Like
That
go
makes
at it.
all kinds of sense.
Yes. And Kim would get so jealous. So if Eminem was sitting with his mom on the couch, Kim would get jealous and like crawl between them.
Oh, this is going to get real twisty.
I know.
Because at some point they have sex.
Obviously.
We went from fighting like brother and sister to having sex. Okay.
Yes, obviously they have sex at some point because they have a baby.
100%.
So yes. So then at one point, as you just said, Debbie goes home, catches them fooling around, and she tries to kick Kim out. Well, Eminem's like, "Well, if you're kicking her out, I'm leaving too."
Oh, so now they're banding together against mom. How adorable.
But it was noted. So this is where things get a little twisty. And I think, and I don't know if we're going to get backlash on this or not, but here we are. So this is the relationship that he alludes to in his song with Rihanna.
Oh, yeah.
He has a song literally for Kim that is horrific.
I just read the lyrics before we hopped on. It is wild and
It's terrible.
terrible.
We can't even repeat like two words.
No, absolutely not. It's awful.
Like every
and
word is
disgusting.
terrible. Yes.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
Oh my gosh. So their relationship is just obviously terrible from the get-go because they kind of start as like this weird adopted brother sister situation.
Well, he hated her as a sister.
Yes. So
And
they
then
fought like
so they
brother
fought all the
sister.
time and he was jealous and hated
Yeah.
her. And
Yeah.
then they had sex and all of a sudden it's like, hey girl. So then they're hooking up, but he probably still hates her on some level.
It's interesting. So when I saw a picture of Kim and saw a picture of his mom when she was younger, they look similar.
It's wild. And also makes sense.
It does make total sense.
Because of course mom would want to adopt someone that looks like her because we've the pre-established narcissism
Yeah,
potentially.
potentially.
So she picks this girl out to be her daughter.
And who could potentially look like her daughter. I mean,
And Eminem has all the attachment problems. Like he's ground zero for attachment.
literally, literally.
Yeah.
I thought this entire time I was doing my homework. I was like, he is the definition of insecure attachment.
Yeah, like disorganized attachment.
Yes, disorganized attachment, 100%
Absolutely.
definition.
I don't he might even have a new category. I mean,
I,
this is some big stuff,
I think he does have a new category. I
you
think it's
know?
called the Eminem attachment theory.
The Eminem attachment style.
Yes,
You got
Eminem.
to be a one percenter to be in that category.
It's literally just Eminem.
Pretty much, man. I mean, that's ridiculous. If your mom
Hmm.
almost kills your uncle with a
Hmm.
wrench when he's a newborn,
Hmm.
and if your mom brings home a random girl that you then fall in love with,
Hmm.
right? And if at the end of the day, all of these people are traumatic connections, then you might
Hmm.
end up with an Eminem attachment disorder.
Yes. Yes.
That's
Uh,
wild.
I know. I'm telling you, when you and I were talking, you're like, do you have Eminem stuff ready? I was like, it's a lot.
It is a lot. You were
It's a
not
lot.
kidding.
I know. I had to like organize, you know me, I had to organize it in my brain and then I had to organize it on paper. It's just a lot. Eminem, you have your own attachment style, literally.
Yeah.
So, there was a story that when they would get into it, Kim would beat the living crap out of him.
Oh, I believe that.
She would do it with like her heels.
Yep.
Yeah. And he never, from what it said, he didn't hit her back. People never really saw him hit her back. I don't know if that's true.
Right.
But he would like hit, his car, he would hit walls, he would hit other things, but not
Oh,
her.
I could see that.
Oh yeah. So physically she would annihilate him.
Mm.
When they left his mom, they went and stayed with some friends, and one of the friends was like, "Yeah, I heard them going at it one evening, and I went down there, and she was beating the living crap out of him."
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he would yell and whatever, but she would just lose it on him. So to be honest, Janine, very co-combative.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
she was the primary aggressor.
Yeah, it sure sounds that way.
I think she was, because here's the way that I kind of assess it. He's probably obviously very jealous, right?
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
that shows up with his mom. It shows up in his life in other areas.
Right. Well, and that's the attachment, right? Like, don't leave me.
Exactly.
You can't leave me.
Exactly. So my guess is, jealousy. He was controlling, and I'm sure a lot of the emotional ways, power and
Oh,
control
yeah.
in emotional ways. But when it comes to actually like someone being the aggressor, I'm pretty dang sure she was it.
Well, it's interesting in the Kim song, the thing that kicked it all off was the fact that he cheated on her when they were like teenagers,
Yeah.
real young.
She
And
cheated
then
on him a bunch too.
totally, but that song is in reaction to one of the times that she cheated on him.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting in the lyrics because it's kind of like he's drawing the difference between 18-year-old him and then it may have been the thing that ultimately split them up because it's the most angry song he has.
Well, so the song didn't split them up. It was,
Well, I mean, he probably did the song.
oh yeah,
Did they break up because of her infidelity? Like, was there a final infidelity that broke them up?
no.
What'd they break up over?
Well, so they got married twice.
Okay.
They both cheated on each other numerous times.
Oh, yeah.
But I think a lot of his was attachment
Yeah.
based.
which is what causes that jealousy. It's not, you and I have talked about the ownership piece, which is one piece, like the objectification ownership. But a
Mhm.
really big piece of jealousy is attachment.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
the part that we have a lot of empathy for. It's
Yeah.
just the fact that we are afraid of losing the people that we love.
Yeah.
And for him and Kim, I did not know any of this about how they got together.
Hmm.
I mean, they didn't have a chance. The minute Kim was like, yes, I'll move in, they
Hmm.
were going to have a codependent, squirrely relationship. There was no other way that goes down.
It's like this weird sister brother fighting dynamic, but then they end up sleeping together and falling in love.
100%. Oh, and I guarantee you, mom at some point told
Yeah.
them not to have sex or something. There was
I
some
don't
sign.
know. I don't think she did because it sounded like she was pretty surprised when they did. Like when she found them messing around
They
because of
kept it that good of a secret.
because of how bad they fought and the jealousy between the two of them for Debbie's attention.
Well, since she wasn't handing out attention to anybody, really,
Right. It was
they
really to
decided to give it
herself.
to each other.
Yes. And I do think over time, because of Eminem's music and how his fame grew, I do think he used that in a power and control way over Kim.
Sure.
So I do think as time went on, he became probably more emotionally removed and more like
Hmm.
I'm the master of the castle.
Yeah, I could see that.
But I think initially she started it.
I mean, it looks that way.
Yeah. Yep. So she would beat the heck out of him, hit him with her heels. And that kind of does speak to like what we've talked about before with our first
Yeah.
episode
Hmm.
around how men don't call as often.
Mm.
It's not seen as as dangerous when women do it to other
Yes.
people.
Yes.
And so no one really ever stops it. But I'm sure if Eminem was wailing on her, people would have stepped in.
I saw this one. What's the name of that show? Where they set up almost a social experiment and then they
Yes.
film it. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And there
We
was
watched that in our
one.
female offender training.
That's right. That's where it's
Yep.
from.
Yep.
And it is really interesting to see how people respond to female offenders with DV versus males and how quickly someone will step in
Yep.
when a man's doing it versus a woman. So, and it also makes sense that he had all of this repressed rage too, then that came out, like all these things that he probably wished he could do on some level,
Hmm.
but he wasn't going to actually act that way. So he would put it in his music.
Hmm.
That makes sense.
Exactly. So all of his, and I heard this numerous times, and I read this quite a few times just reading other stuff on him. He used his music basically as his therapy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Which honestly, like the sad thing is, because at one point in the documentary I watched, they talk about, like numerous times he wished he had more of a normal upbringing, but if he did, we wouldn't have Eminem,
Mm,
right?
I know.
So his fame continued to build. He started off like very low on the totem pole. And it was interesting because this was all in the 90s,
Yep.
similar to the situation that we were talking about with OJ,
Right.
right? With the civil stuff, um,
LAPD.
LAPD, racially distant, right?
Yeah.
So he was this white blonde boy
Mm,
in the rapping community. And so when he would rap for his white friends, they'd be like, yeah, I'm not interested in that music. And then when he would rap in the black communities, they're like, who's this white guy rapping?
100%. And really, that was like peak gang war stuff too, was in the
Yeah.
90s. So I would imagine
Yeah.
Detroit in the 90s was,
Oh, rough.
I mean, it's still rough, but I can only imagine that for him to engage in that
Hmm.
was probably actually physically dangerous too.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
that's a real affront to the hip hop community. Like
It
for
is.
a white person to just insert themselves in that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and what's interesting is I don't have this in my notes, so I'm going off the cuff here, but Vanilla Ice, is that his name?
Oh, yeah.
Gosh. So Vanilla Ice was also rapping at this time
Yeah.
and was well kind of respected at a point into like the Black community, but then they all found out that he was a fake, that he didn't have this hard life that
Mhm.
he said he did.
Right.
And when Eminem came in, it was kind of like people were like, who's this guy?
Who's
Right.
this guy? Right.
When in reality, he really did have the hard life he was rapping about.
Well, yeah, and really did grow up 8 Mile,
Yes.
Detroit. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yes. Very low income, very, very much in poverty. So he was just not really respected in any way from
Mm.
anybody because
He didn't fit anywhere.
he didn't fit anywhere. But there was a couple of individuals in his life who were like, I don't, colors, whatever, he can rap. And
Yeah.
so they took a chance on him. So he had a small record deal with these brothers. I don't remember their name. And he, paid quite a bit of money for the 90s to have it like bumped, one of his first albums bumped up and it didn't really go far.
Yeah.
So he was in and out of this job that he was doing at some diner, I think, and he would like he would write all his lyrics down on like napkins and then talk to like customers about it. And customers really loved him. They would like want to go see him at his shows and stuff, but he was just really small and having a really hard time building.
Yeah.
At one of his shows with that Kim song, okay?
Hmm.
So at one of his shows, he and Kim were together,
Hmm.
and Kim asked, "Are you going to sing that song?" And Kim was going to the show, and he goes, "No, I wouldn't do that because you're coming. So I won't, I'm not going to sing that song." Well, that's the one that went crazy. He did sing the song, and he had a blow up doll that was like insinuated as her,
Oh no.
and he like beat the crap out of the blow up doll
During the performance?
during the performance,
Oh no.
singing the Kim song.
Okay. Okay.
You didn't know about this?
No. And she was there?
Yes.
Oh no.
Yes. So she leaves the show. She goes home and attempts suicide.
I did not know this.
Yes.
Oh, and they're together at that point.
They're together. They are dating.
And he initially wasn't going to do the song, and then he did.
And then he did.
And then she tried to kill herself.
And she tried to kill herself. She knew about the song before. She had heard it, but yeah. And the blow up doll. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, I can't even say, can you imagine either of our husbands doing that? Because they would never do that.
No.
So she tried to kill herself. This was also after they had their daughter. So they had their daughter, Haley.
Oh gosh.
And so it was chaotic because, Kim would say he's a bad husband, but he's an amazing dad. Like he never left his kid. He
Mm.
always loved her really, really well, all
Mm.
that stuff. But him and Kim were just terrible.
Oh yeah.
So that all happens. Eminem's still trying to climb the
Yeah.
ladder. At some point, he also tries to commit suicide.
He does.
He does.
How?
Pills.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
So he attempts suicide. It's unsuccessful, thankfully. Obviously, he's around and one of the best
Right.
rappers ever, but he turned his life around from there. Like he really started going in on this career, really started to try to build it up and started to make
So he was thankful to have his life. He was
yes, he
thankful
was
he survived.
correct. So then he went full in. And then as he was growing, right? So we have Eminem and we have Slim Shady.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know this until I did some of this digging. They're kind of two different people.
Interesting. Like he had that song with a real Slim Shady, Please Stand Up.
Yes.
Is it like an alter ego kind of?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, which I didn't know. I was like, he's just messing around. I don't know. He's just that creative, whatever. But no, yeah, it's like an alter ego. So his Eminem stuff is always really heavy and deep, but his Slim Shady stuff is always like really, I mean, it's like sarcastic.
And funny. I mean, his music was kind of like funny, playful in a little bit of a dark way, but kind of
Yes.
kind of playful, but the Eminem stuff is not.
No, exactly. And he would make all his like digs in the Slim Shady music.
Interesting.
So like the Mariah Carey dig.
Uh-huh.
He also makes a dig on the guy who bullied him in elementary school. which is important later on.
In which song? Do you know?
I think it's in, well, the real Slim Shady's Please Stand Up. I'm
Okay.
pretty sure.
Okay.
So he takes a dig at all these people, right?
Yeah.
And then obviously starts all these battles that he wins in the end,
Always.
musically at least.
Hmm.
So that's when his music really started to take off, is when he created Slim Shady.
Interesting.
So think of like when we were teens, what
Oh
was the
yeah.
first, like, what's the first song you really remember besides like Mom Spaghetti?
Oh yeah. Slim Shady.
Right. So that's when,
Absolutely. Remember the VMAs when he came out with like 100 lookalikes? Do you remember that?
oh,
Oh, it's insane. I'll never forget that. I think it was the VMAs, but it was crazy.
I think I do remember that.
He
Yeah.
came out with all of these and he performed it. And the camera kept going to the people that he was getting after in the song. Because
Yeah.
he dissed Christina Aguilera, Mariah Carey. I don't even
Everybody.
know who else. Yeah.
Yeah. That's when he really started to make it really big. Him and Kim are like pretty on and off. They were married twice. So you asked about their breakup. So got married the second time. It was when he was making it a lot bigger. He had good money.
Hmm.
So after she had tried to kill herself, she went to rehab, got out of rehab, and then stayed with him. Like the intention was like, you can stay a night, see the girls, because his niece was also around quite a bit.
Okay.
So people often say like he had two daughters. He only had one, but the other one was his niece.
His niece. Okay.
So she came and stayed, and she's like, and one night turned into like me moving in and us basically getting married. So they got married after she got out of rehab, had this big, beautiful wedding. But she was like, I just wasn't sure if I wanted to get married yet. But he was kind of like, you either know or you don't know if you want to be with me or not.
And this was the second time they got married or the
This
first?
was
Second
the
time.
second time.
Okay.
The first time was like a tiny wedding, like I can't even remember what they said about it, like probably courthouse situation.
Okay.
So second time, beautiful wedding. The kids spoke at their wedding. Like
Oh my gosh.
so then she said one day he came home and her and Ronnie, so uncle but brother, were fighting,
Mm.
like arguing.
Yeah.
And she was like, and he left. Like he left after that. They were married for like 40 days or something, 30 days.
And Eminem just dipped.
Yeah, he was like, I can't handle this. Left. He was like, I'm going to go stay at our whatever. They had another house. I'm going to go stay at this house for a little bit, and then just never came home and then served her papers. And so she talks about, she's like, it's just crazy to me because we'd been through all this infidelity. We'd been through all this chaos. And then he just like dips because I get into an argument with his brother.
But did he maintain a relationship with the brother?
Yeah, with Ronnie. Well,
Yeah.
yes. But then, so he talks about Ronnie in some of his songs
Yeah.
because Ronnie ended up dying by suicide in 1992.
Oh wow.
Yes.
And we don't know how long after the fight that was.
Mm-mm.
Wow.
No, but it says that Ronnie died because of a traumatic breakup and it hit him really hard.
I'm sure.
And that was kind of when so Eminem on and off had struggled with substances himself this
Hmm.
whole time, but that was when his addiction really kind of kicked up.
Mm. Was when Ronnie died.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I know it's a lot. So, any thoughts or questions so far?
I'm just doing the math. 92. I'm trying to think how old I was when I really started hearing his music because that was definitely the Slim Shady stuff,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
Um, I do remember how controversial his music was, where
Mm-hmm.
people were like, "Don't let your kids listen," which of course we all did because that's what you do.
Well, Slim Shady came out in 99.
Yeah. So it's interesting to think about the fact that I wasn't aware of him until after all of this trauma. And
Mm-hmm.
then when he starts to hit it big, it's with this more lighthearted, sarcastic. It was still edgy, but I mean, it was like there were funny things in his lyrics. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's really interesting that he lost his brother like 7 years before
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
career really took off. And he was already divorced from Kim at that point.
Yep. I think the big things, so then I'm going to finish up with this part and then get into some of, I mean, we've been doing some of the psychology this whole time, but
Yeah,
so when he got bigger, started to make money, Kim sued him for defamation due to explicit lyrics that referred to her.
fair.
I'm like, that's valid.
But was it the old, like, did she sue him when he got big for the lyrics from like 10
Yes.
years prior?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I think. Well, here's the other thing. He talked crap on her throughout his
Always. Always. Yeah.
So I think he was just so yes, and also the other
Also, he kept doing it. Yeah, it never really stopped.
no.
No.
So she sued him. Get this though.
Oh.
He was pretty rough on his mom, obviously, in a lot of songs.
Oh, yeah.
His mom also sued him for the same reason. Yeah.
Were they in cahoots or was she just inspired?
Probably inspired. I don't think they were in cahoots.
So the two women closest to him on earth
Sue him
sue him
for his anger
towards them for being ridiculous.
and his hurt and his pain. I know. I get it, Kim. I'm like, I get that a little more. Like, if I were in her shoes, I'd probably want to stick it to him a little bit.
100%.
But mom, I'm like, really, mom?
Who sues their own son for
Right?
his lyrics
And
about
talk,
his terrible mom?
and talk about attachment continuing to be so disrupted.
Well, it didn't make him better, Nat. Getting sued by the two closest women to him. It did not improve his
Yeah.
attachment.
Well, and get this, the dude who beat him up
Oh, no.
also tried to sue him
Oh, no.
for talking about him in one of his songs. I was like,
No.
you almost killed him and you're suing him because he's rapping about you? Like,
That feels like a freedom of speech issue.
get your life.
I get to call you ridiculous if you almost kill me. I'm sorry.
Yes, absolutely. So anyway,
Did they win any of the lawsuits?
I think Kim won some money. Debbie won a little bit. She didn't win a ton. And
You
I
win
don't
10 grand and lose your son? Cool.
literally, no, that's like basically what it was. Like she sued him for millions and she got like 10 grand at the end of the day.
Wow.
When he could have just been like, here's 20 grand and you don't have to sue me.
Eminem should have had 50 Cent deliver whatever the bully, whatever money was due him. You know what I'm saying?
Literally. Yes. Yeah. So then the bully, I don't think the bully won anything. I think the judge was like, you're an idiot.
Jackass.
You literally almost killed him. Just like when I think of Eminem's story, I just look at it and I'm like, generational trauma.
Oh, yes.
You know, we have a new attachment style called the Eminem attachment style.
That's right.
And just the trauma is so loud in their whole situation, right? Like parents left all the time. The fathers in the paternal figures in his life constantly left. He broke all these generational patterns though. So he did not leave his daughter.
Mm-mm.
He fought for custody for his daughter. It didn't explicitly say this, but I think he might have lost custody for a short period of time. And then when Kim got busted for drug dealing and then had to go to rehab, they got shared custody when she got out.
Okay.
So he's always tried to like make an effort to be in his daughter's life. He got sober. He's been sober. Shoot, I saw this recently. I want to say like 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah, since 2008.
That's incredible.
I know. So here's the thing. You look at him, and I know he's been kind of dragged through the ringer at times. People tried to cancel him in 2020 because of all of his abusive music.
Yeah.
But when you look at his life and what he was raised, how he was raised,
Yeah.
he shouldn't have had a shot, but
Yeah.
he did because he's so gifted and he just never gave up. And he broke all these generational traumas.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, there's some really cool research out about how much we're affected by our parents, grandparents, like on a cellular level.
Mm-hmm.
So this isn't just about overcoming nurture. There's an element of overcoming nature too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that makes him so impressive to me.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I mean, he broke a lot, you know? I just respect the heck out of him.
Yeah, I know, I do too.
He's hard to not
Always
like,
liked him.
huh?
I've always liked him.
Same. Yeah. So, like I said, there's so much on Eminem. There's so many different avenues we could have taken with him. But when the more I looked into his story, like this is what was so loud for me because for so much of his life, people looked at his addiction most of the time. People looked at how his music was abusive
Yeah.
to Kim, and they looked at all these things, but there isn't a ton of stuff on his like family history, his family of origin. And so when I was reading all that, I was like, this is more of what caught my eye.
Absolutely. And even thinking about the fact that he survived a suicide attempt
Yep.
and kind of turned his life around, got sober, all that kind of stuff,
Mhm.
the risk of suicide goes up
Mhm.
every time someone close to you attempts or completes suicide. So even surviving in that landscape with
Mhm.
really close relatives that died that way, he's impressive. I mean, he's a survivor.
Yeah. He is a survivor. He's very impressive. He's I don't know, just as awesome as I thought he was before, if not more awesome now.
I will always love him is the thing. We'll
I
just always love him.
I know. He's the epitome of like where power and control can come from, right? Like when I
Yes.
think of power and control, I think of attachment issues,
Yes.
organized attachment, and he is that, was that, is that. I don't know if he still is.
Yeah.
Um, I will say he has not had a significant other since Kim.
Hmm.
I don't know why that is. I could speculate.
Eminem attachment style.
Eminem attachment style.
And it's interesting because I'm sitting here thinking the savant piece, his just sheer intelligence.
Yes.
And we were kind of laughing about, if you step to Eminem, like he's just going to bury you. Like it's not even close. Like you're dumb if you try, kind
Yeah.
of.
Yeah.
I remember when Machine Gun Kelly did his thing, like the internet was ablaze, just waiting because we all knew, and Machine Gun Kelly was not sleeping. He was trying to get some publicity, but you got to know he's not sleeping.
Here's the thing. Machine Gun Kelly switched genres
Oh yeah, he was out. He's like, I don't rap anymore. I don't know if
because
you've heard.
because Eminem annihilated him in his
Mm.
Machine Gun Kelly literally was like, deuces, I'm gonna go wear a bunch of pink all the time.
Oh
The
yeah.
the beautiful star, Megan Fox, but I'm not touching rap with a 10-foot pole.
No, no, I don't think he ever rapped again.
He
I don't know
didn't.
that he ever rapped again.
He sings, he's like Poppy.
Yeah, yeah, no, he can't do it. It's just hard.
It's just so
He's like,
funny.
I don't even wear black anymore. I just
I don't
can't.
even
I
wear
can't
black
even.
anymore. I just wear bright pink. I had to
Just
go.
bright pink. I've just rebranded entirely.
Oh.
I mean, he practically wiped him off the face of the earth. But what's interesting to me too is, being way too into hip hop growing up. You had this like East Coast, West Coast, the gang stuff, all the whatever, back and forth. And then
Mhm.
there's Eminem from Michigan
I know.
coming out of nowhere. And then you have this Super Bowl halftime, and he's so epic.
Hmm.
I mean, the reason that he's in the position he's in
Hmm.
is because of his excellence. And that's that like savant,
Yes.
sheer intelligence, sheer creativity. He's in
Hmm.
a class of his own. And that's why he is where he is.
Yep.
Because
Yep.
otherwise it makes no sense.
Yeah. So he has his own attachment style and his own class.
For sure. I mean, he's
He's
really
just
like,
blazing the trail.
yes. And I think, when we talk about heart on this one, besides the fact that we heart him, so
Always.
much. I love him. I really do. I love him in a way that he would not appreciate. Because even though he's forever 21 in my mind, I also feel like his mom, not Debbie.
Or Kim.
Maybe an aunt, maybe like a cool aunt,
Yeah. Let's take
I
that
will
role.
always kind of see him that way.
Hmm.
But, one of the things that we wanted to share was the fact that he has been on a journey of healing.
Hmm.
So we found his most recent song, which is actually about his mom and
It's so
how he's
sweet.
reflecting on that maybe differently as a man in his 50s.
Yes. It's co-sung by with Miley Cyrus.
And can we just talk about how bizarre that is? We got
So
Eminem
weird.
and Party in the USA, Miley Cyrus on a song together.
I know.
In
You
fairness,
know,
though, they both kind of have like,
they both have a story.
they have a story. They probably bonded over it.
They probably did.
But I can't play the whole song. You got to look it up. It's Eminem featuring Miley Cyrus, and the name of the song is Beautiful. The guy is doing some thinking
And healing.
and healing. Yep. And
Mm.
it's such a beautiful song. And I think there's so much empathy in this
Mhm.
song, which is really interesting because I don't know that I ever would have put empathy and Eminem in a sentence together until
Mm-mm.
this, probably.
Mhm.
And even recovery doesn't necessarily give you empathy, although he does talk about that in the song,
Yeah.
you know. But
Yeah.
it's an amazing song, and Eminem, we will always love you. We will
Mhm.
be in your fan club. You are so resilient. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Go check out the song. Listen to the whole
Mhm.
song. It's so good. And we will see you next week.
All right. Bye, forensic friends.
I'm Janine.
And I'm Nat.
And as always, thanks for listening and join us next week for more crime, psychology, and heart.